It's pretty dope, man. I like it.
Updated a little bit on the
Yeah,
intro.
nice little cut. We still gotta. I like the. I like that there's no like rolling, scrolling, like funky font stuff going on. Yeah,
Yeah, spiral in, spiral out.
yeah. We got to get you like a nice font though. Now we can like narrow down the font. But I like it. I dig it, man. I think it's nice and clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this video editing software I have, it's got a bunch of the fonts, but a lot of them are the real specialty
Oh.
whiz bang Comic Sans and or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's getting better.
Yeah, I like it, dude. It's cool.
Episode 77, Bitcoin.
Can you believe it? Oh my god.
We've been doing this for a little while now.
Yeah.
Just talking to Robin, who is in the airport, but Lugano, Switzerland, Plan B.
Yeah.
Sounded
Looks like it was a pretty
amazing.
juicy conference, man. I don't know. He was sending some pictures that were just like, oh, like I was really sort of thinking, like, man, I think I screwed up by not going to Switzerland this year. Like, that's it looks amazing, man. But he was also talking about like street food. He said he was in Albania and he got like a falafel or a euro or something like that on the street, like a kebab on the street, and it cost like €1.50 or 2 euros. He said, I got the exact same kebab in Switzerland in Lugano for like 14 euros. So it's, yeah, it's kind of pricey. I mean, it's a country for rich people, and he brought up the point, like, if you're rich, you get so many tax benefits that you kind of don't care that, things are super expensive because like you save, like if you have, 10 million in the bank, you save a couple million a year in taxes. So when you go to the coffee shop and you have to pay $8 for a coffee, you're just like, what do I care?
My gold is in the Swiss bank vault. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Invasion proof country, so yeah, but next year, man, I'm going to Lugano for sure. We were talking a little bit about whether or not I'm going to go to Amsterdam this year. It looks like it's going to be a pretty cool conference, and Holland, Amsterdam itself is an amazing city, so I think it might be kind of fun to go there. But we've also got Bitcoin veterans in Nashville, so yeah, there's all sorts
November 10th in Nashville. Right after that, is it the 12th, right? 12th or 13th is Amsterdam.
Yeah, the Amsterdam kicks off on the 13th, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
You will see and find MicroSeed everywhere you go in the future.
Yeah, in the future, everyone will have a MicroSeed for 15 minutes.
A MicroSeed on every desktop and in every home.
Yeah, the Bitcoin in every wallet, MicroSeed in every desk. I don't know.
Self-custody. Yeah. And a node in every home, in every garage, in every car, in every trailer. There will be a node.
Ronnie, is everybody in the world but me traveling right now? Like Robin's on the road, Fritz is on the road, you're on the road. Like, what the heck, man? Like, I'm just like stuck here doing work. Ugh. You guys like flittering around the world having fun, and I'm just over here grinding.
Someone's actually working. Yeah, no, it's sorting out all the world's problems. Yes, I feel so weirdly, not irrationally bullish, but very bullish about Bitcoin. I just feel like macro stuff going on is the fiat is getting to hit some limits. I just feel like fiat's going to blow some tops and roads lead to Bitcoin. I don't know. I feel good about
what's driving the sentiment, do you think?
Just random podcasts I listen to and stuff that, Trump's tweets, Scott Bessent out there talking about China, trade war stuff going on. All of it is just these weird squirmings of late stage empire.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, man, because like I don't know, like the last couple of weeks I was sort of like looking at the price chart a little more often. And the thing is like if you're trying to glean things from macro headwinds or, this, that, or the other thing, it's kind of like you go, well, we don't really know what effects those things are going to do, how they're going to ripple, and what, like knock-on effects are going to flow from whatever decisions get made in Washington, or whether they print or not, or the trade wars and all, because it's all variable stuff, right? Like our punches are subject to a 50% ad valorem tax right now because Trump tweeted on a Friday. So it's like, thanks, Trump. like that's not disruptive at all. Like we, have a plan and we kind of try and execute on that plan, and then just some guy can just randomly be sitting there taking a dump and fat finger a tweet and just go, yeah, we're 100% tariffs, meh, and then everything blows up. Right? So
I saw an ad about Ronald Reagan that was wrong. I'm going.
yeah,
So we're done.
yeah, we're just gonna wipe things out. But let me share this little chart with you real quick, just so, not that this means anything, like, because this is like astrology for men, right? Like 100% astrology for men. But I would point out this is the Bitcoin weekly chart. And if you believe in astrological symbols, you can go, well, hey, we've got an ascending channel here, right? This is a low to a low. This is a high to a high. You go, that looks pretty good. But down here in the relative strength index, you have a high to a low and then a low to a low. And what this is commonly referred to as a bear div, right? A deviation, as in price is going up, but the strength is going down. That's historically speaking not great for asset prices, right? Like the thing you look for as a trader is you want to see a bull div, right? Where you want to see the RSI going up, but the price is going down. Then you go, ooh, juicy. This is a time to push the buy button because there's strength going in the trade, but the price is actually declining. And that tends to signify like, hey, there's a likelihood of a reversal coming up. But in this case, if you're looking at it, you kind of go, well, and again, this is 100% astrology. This is not like, don't make any decisions based on anything I'm saying or anybody else that starts drawing lines and, doodads on a chart. Like it's all relatively nonsense. Like you're talking like, if you do it properly and you have a ton of experience with it and you get a little bit lucky, these things can maybe influence a decision on the margins. But writ large, DCA, don't tinker with this stuff because it's more risk than it's worth. But if we're just talking about like little fun things to talk about, just like, hey, you're a Leo, I'm a Cancer, we don't get along. It's a similar idea here. If you're a Bitcoin bull, but you look at the bear indicator, you kind of go, well, that's problematic. The other thing I would point out here is this little indicator is crossed over, right? So the last time it crossed over, we knifed down pretty good. But if you look kind of back, the last crossover was here, but it was mild and the RSI stayed above the 50. If you go all the way back, like the last big, like huge, meaningful cross was, right before the big doomsday drop from, from here it dropped, I don't know what, from 50, 60 grand all the way down to that little 15,000 mark, 16,000 mark. So is that this time? Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know.
The cycle's over.
But there are people, if you read that commentary, they go, what if, 120 was the top, right? And there's a guy, Wicked Bitcoin, who says, just historically speaking, like there's X amount of time after the halving that typically marks the top. And he said you can go back every single top. You go X amount of time from here to here was the top of the market. And if you look at this, you go, okay, well, here's the halving. And then you go here. That was 553 days. So if you go back to this halving and you go from here to this top, it was 518 days, right? So you go, okay, that's interesting. But what about this one? This one deviates a little bit, but you go from here to here, it's 378 days, right? So these are like, so we got a couple of these that have sort of lined up, but now if you look at the halving here and you go, okay, well, what's the halving to the peak? You go, oh, 539 days. Huh. Well, again, doesn't mean boo, right? It's astrology for men, but you can also look at it and go, well, maybe, just maybe, this time isn't different. Maybe, just maybe. Yeah, Virgo's next. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Let's go through all the signs here. I was feeling about a week ago, I'm like, maybe cycles are over. We're done with cycles. Bitcoin has broken past all old models. Bitcoin breaks all models. Something's gonna give, and when it gives, Bitcoin just melts faces, and it's like, oh, cycles are over. This is the new thing. But Sometimes I think, all these larger forces and the retail that's in Bitcoin, like they are with the ETFs, they are going to hold on to the same patterns just because that's what they know, and that may hold Bitcoin back unless some other asymmetric thing occurs.
Well, that's kind of my thing is like I agree with you, like there's that idea that like, hey, maybe this time really is different, right? But I go back to literally 1998, like when I was running for office in California as a libertarian, I was predicting the demise of the fiat system in 1998. And I would repeat that ad nauseum from 98 on till about 2020. I'm like, this is all going to blow up any day now. This is all over. We're all going to be on a gold standard. We're all going to be this. We're all going to be that. And then it just doesn't happen. Like it just keeps going. So all that did for me was it allowed me to miss out on about like 30 years of stock market gains, right? Because I was so like convinced that fiat has run its last course. They're lemmings running over a cliff. It's a house of cards. It's all going to come crashing down. It's all going to do this. It's all going to do this. And that to say that that can't happen, I think would be irresponsible. But to say that it's going to happen any day now, I think is also just as irresponsible, right? So
Yeah.
when you look at it writ large, you kind of go, okay, well, the seemingly the very consistent theme since the 1970s is we get a boom and then it overextends and then it crashes and then we get another credit, flood of credit, and then they try and prop up prices again, and so we get another boom, and then that credit gets overextended and then it crashes again, and so they go, oh, we need to extend some more credit, so let's get another boom. And economists call this a boom bust cycle, and they allege that it's been going on for ages. I think that's been magnified since the 1970s because there's no constraint on money printing. So now we've got this like boom and bust cycle again, but the stock market is hitting all-time record highs. Bitcoin is hitting all-time record highs. And I go, well, what's the likelihood, given 100 years of history, that this time it's just going to keep booming? Like they're not going to overextend their credit despite $38 trillion of debt and the extra trillion they just added in the last 2 weeks or whatever it is. Like, what's the likelihood we fix this somehow because Bitcoin exists? We go,
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't make, trading decisions based on this kind of stuff, or at least I used to in the past. I wouldn't do it anymore just because I think, the smart money is just like, well, just like keep buying Bitcoin. Sooner or later, this is going to work out for you is the sort of core thesis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you boil it to simplicity, but if you look at it from a longer term perspective, you go, well, is it possible? Is it within the realm of possibility that maybe 126K was kind of the peak of this little cycle after this post halving, and we might be headed into a bearish type territory after this? And like all it takes is the stock market to go wiggle, 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 dump, and then the Bitcoin is going to follow, right? Like it's not going to just irrationally keep going up. So I don't know, man. Like I think there's some merit to the idea of like, well, it'd be kind of cool if we kind of keep the boom bust cycle going for a little while longer because that's what the world's used to, right? Despite the fact that it's destructive for the middle class, it's destructive for wage earners, it's destructive for everybody except for asset owners. And even asset owners get wiped out, if they're not careful with what they're doing. But, there is something to like, well, that's kind of how the machine works right now. And it's like if you have a car that like you have to, pump the brakes 3 times before you can stop, like you can get used to it after a while. It's not safe to drive around, but you can get a lot of mileage out of that car before you, pay the consequences of not fixing your brakes, And this is an economy that I think is like you have to pump the brakes 10 times before the car starts slowing down, right? So
Okay, we got to break 10 times now.
yeah.
But they got to print the money. How are they not print more crazy money? And then how does the Cantillon effect not find money migrating into better assets?
Yeah.
Even if the economy goes, slumps or we have stagflation stuff going on, there's going to be people who are going to sell like, well, times are hard, whatever. We got this Bitcoin. I'll just sell my Bitcoin. There's going to be whales that are sitting on a lot like they have and be like, yeah, I've got enough. I'll just sell some more. So there's these downward pressures that way. And at the same time, some deep fundamentals there are that Bitcoin is going to, like gold, just be like, you know what? All this fiat is wrecked. Where am I putting my money? My property?
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's just not that many people doing that yet, right? So there are the hardcore Bitcoiners, right? Like the 24,000 people that run nodes that are pretty convinced that Bitcoin is the thing that's going to fix everything, right? And then there's, another 40 or 50 million people that are kind of speculating on price action. Whether they call themselves Bitcoiners or not, fundamentally, they're just speculators, right? Because they're not participating in the Bitcoin network. And if you assume that like something like 20% of the accessible Bitcoin is held on exchanges right now, that's a pretty big chunk of Bitcoin that can move pretty rapidly, especially in a downward turn. And especially when you're talking about people that are just speculators, they're not in it because they have some sort of philosophical idea that like Bitcoin fixes everything, but there are people that go like, well, I want my Bitcoin to go up, and I watch this crypto show on YouTube, and they say no matter what, you should hold at least 40% of your crypto portfolio should have Bitcoin in it, and then the rest, here's all the shit coins that we recommend, right? And so these guys are all gambling on shit coins 60%. Then they got a 40% allocation, a 20% allocation, and they look at it as like, well, Bitcoin's the OG crypto, so I should have a little bit of Bitcoin. But I'm really interested in the gains from, like dickface.com token, or, whatever, like flying donkey doodad token or whatever it is. So they're all hoping to like maximize, get those 100x gains or whatever it is from some shitcoin. But the thing is, the shitcoin market is dead, right? And so what we're seeing right now is like if shitcoins are pumping and there's a lot of, coincidental inflow into Bitcoin at the same time, right? And at least in terms of exchange driven market action, like institutions and whales don't give a shit about any of this stuff. They're working on different metrics. But if you're talking about like that short term accumulation, short term price action that you see on charts and the people are talking about actively, most of that's driven by retail and retail sentiment and how that shifts and moves. And then the institutions and the whales can tweak on that, and they go, oh, sentiment seems to be going this way. I'm going to do this counter move, or I'm going to do this pro move, and I'm going to exacerbate or wreck as I see fit. But absent a shitcoin market, it sidelines a lot of people that would have been pumping into Bitcoin because they got gains on their Solana token or whatever, right? So it's really, really curtailed the speculative market right now. Like this current market conditions, and especially after that big wipeout, where like literally all these shitcoins went to zero, at least temporarily, right? Like the liquidity just evaporated and everything went crash. And but it also shows you like how much Bitcoin was exposed to that, right? Because Bitcoin had a big sharp drop as a result of that. So it tells you there's a lot of people gambling on Bitcoin. There's enough people gambling on Bitcoin that the price can drop like some significant percentage overnight because the trading algorithms blew up, right? So
Yeah.
so
When
what
Bitcoin
that
makes
spells
those,
for ongoing price action, I go, it's a risky time right now.
yeah, and when Bitcoin makes those weird drops affected by other markets, I'm kind of, I'm like, I want Bitcoin just to blow away everyone else and separate from that. But I like I like shitcoin. Uh, I like the separation away from the shitcoins. I'm happy to have the retail market fleeced out again and kind of rebase Bitcoin at a more fundamental floor, a healthier floor. I feel like the floor grows, the people that are holding grows, and that floor grows slowly. And at a bigger, more fundamental view, I had a thing here. You posted a thing. Oh, come on. Here it is. Zooming out a little bit, I like this one you put up about the printing press and that we're still early. Like most people have just barely come to understand financial literacy, maybe. And so, just as the printing press came out, when most people had no idea necessarily what to do with it, or that books would just start coming to them, Bitcoin's out and changes everything, but most people may never be fully financially literate, probably. So,
well, I think that's one of the things, and thank you for posting that. I actually was kind of fond of that tweet, but
I like it.
The thing is literacy rates exploded when there was a reason to have them, right? Like when there's books everywhere and you're seeing all the people around you going like, hey man, that guy's like getting way smarter and he's just like deciphering shit on a piece of paper. Like that's pretty cool. Huh. Maybe I should figure out how to decipher shit on a piece of paper, you know? And I think there's even something in Game of Thrones, like, you know, the fat kid that went to the north of the wall and met the chick and she's like, "Oh my god, you know all this because of those symbols on paper? Like you're a wizard, right?" And then
You're
if you think
so
about
smart. And he's like, actually, I just read.
yeah, and she's like, "Wait, what? So you can just look at things on a piece of paper and be smarter and make good plans based on that? Like that's crazy, right?" And I think that's kind of a similar effect in money. Like when people look around and they go, "Wait a minute, you just like bought this orange coin and like your life is great?" Huh. Why is that? Well, it's because I deciphered these little symbols that said, hey, these guys make more of this than we need. And so that means all of us get less for the things that they make. So if you have something that isn't that way, your number go up, right? Like your ability to stay solvent goes up. And I think just as you know, the wide proliferation of books increased literacy rates, you know, auto magically because more and more people just want to have access to that thing. I think the same thing happens with Bitcoin ultimately, right? They go, well, I don't know anything about money, but I want more of, I want to have more of that thing. That looks like a superior plan than me just sitting here like slopping around in the mud with my pigs. Like I can learn how to not slop around in the mud with my pigs, like just by reading a book. That's pretty cool. Oh, you mean I can protect myself from debasement just by buying this thing? That seems pretty cool. Like I think it's an apt sort of comparison, right?
You'll be a Bitcoin maester or a grand maester. That's what they're called, right?
Yeah, the
A
Grand
maester.
Maester. Yeah, yeah. Well, we're the maesters, right?
We're
We're
the
the people.
maester.
We're the ones that are promoting the Bitcoin fix. But
Yeah, and I've had people be like, sort of like coming from it from their perspective of like, well, why do you just have faith in this, believe in this? Like, you know, coming from the like stocks or other things, like you're gambling, you know? And I
yeah,
want to say, no, it's like just like being able to read, understanding math. Um, I feel like, no, it's like, it's be like, how are you all in on your chair? Are you, I mean, you're sitting on your chair. Are you all in on that chair? Do
yeah,
you believe in math? Like, I don't have to like believe and hope that math still works tomorrow. Like, I still believe in math. And also, you see what's happening in the fiat land. That kind of just, fiat land just continually reinforces your belief in math. And you see where that's going. So, and I also have come to believe, if you will, that the fiat game is done.
yeah,
It's it's the flagellations of late stage, like try to keep it floating. But yes, the Titanic sinks very slowly, even as like the music's still playing and they're still serving drinks, but the Titanic drops slowly.
yeah.
And
Oh,
what
yeah.
you don't want to do is, now you may just hang on to it and hang on to it until you can kind of more gracefully transition onto your raft and float away.
Right,
But don't be like panicking and then like jumping off into an iceberg.
right.
Just be see what's happening and then don't panic.
Yeah, yeah. Stay
Douglas
calm.
Adams, don't panic.
Well, what you definitely don't want to be is the guy like in the movie Titanic, the one that's like falls off the rail and bounces off the prop as he falls down. You know, like you don't want to be that dude. Yeah, bing, and then like into the frozen water below. Like that's not a great way to get out of the situation. But you know, the Titanic is an apt metaphor, I think, for what's kind of happening writ large. The you know if the thing is like I've heard that you know that sentiment that you just expressed, like, well, how do you feel about your chair? But that was like a Michael Saylor thing when he was
Yeah.
on what is that Impact Theory?
Impact theory.
Yeah, yeah. And he got all saucy with that guy because he's like, well, what? And he's like, well, are you convinced in your chair? Do you believe in your chair? And it's like, well, I don't think Bitcoin is quite as tangible as your chair, right? Like, and especially if you're talking about like, I'm going to put all of my net worth into magic internet money, you kind of go, well, how does that compare to the chair? It's like, well, it's night and day. Like I will trust my life to the chair by standing on it to reach a spider on the ceiling. I wouldn't necessarily trust, you know, the magic internet money to support everything just because Sailor said so, right? So there is a leap of faith that I think he kind of discounted in that tirade or whatever you want to call it on impact theory. But the thing I kind of look at is like there here. I'm going to share another screen right here real quick. This is a book by Eric Voskuil, who's an old OG Bitcoiner, right? I mean, he's been around since like 2012, 2013, something like that, and he's the author of a node software that's coming soon. And it's been coming soon for a decade, but uh, I think that anybody that is into Bitcoin should absolutely read this guy's book, right? Because if you are taking a leap of faith, I think that's not, it's kind of a dangerous thing to do, right? I think you should be very, very well informed if you're going to devote significant time, effort, energy, and even your potentially your financial future onto an idea such as Bitcoin, right? And Crypto Economics is a great book because it explodes a lot of the very common ideas about what Bitcoin is, what Bitcoin can do, why it exists, what's important about it, what's not important about it, things like that. If you read it in the wrong frame of, like, if you read it from the wrong frame, you would just go, oh, I should never invest in Bitcoin. This is a terrible idea, right? Like, this thing is probably not going to work the way I think it is. And this guy he did an interview with Vlad, the best Bitcoin podcast ever, and he said, yeah, Saifedean sent me a thing, said, hey, would you read my book before whatever the Bitcoin standard came out, and Voskuil just crapped all over it, and then Saifedean said, you're an idiot, and blocked him. Right? So, but the thing is what Voskuil is saying is correct for the most part. Like, if you read this through and you give it some, if you can set aside your bias towards Bitcoin and just read this book, you'll go, oh, there's some things I really need to think about before I go hog wild onto like diving into the Bitcoin thing. But from that, I would also say I am a guy that read that book, and I had those very same like, I never thought about that. That's kind of a problem. That's kind of a problem. Oh, I never thought about that problem. Oh, that's a false idea. That's a false thesis. That's a false concept. And from it, I'm still a huge Bitcoin maxi, right? So I think that's the sweet spot for every person who wants to be like a Bitcoiner, like, and deep in down the rabbit hole. I think it behooves you to understand it on a deep, deep level, right? Philosophically, economically, metaphysically, all of the illies, right? You should spend the time to learn about it, not just like watch Sailor videos, not just read, Broken Money, but like read things that counter your narrative. And if you can still come away from it from there, then I go, okay, this is an informed person who is making a decision based on all of the available information, right? And it's a little tricky, but that's part of the reason I wrote my book, was to go, hey, there is a reason why all of this stuff in this book is true, crypto economics, and Bitcoin's still important, right? It's still more important than what people give it credit for. And so that's the kind of my little like thing about, do you believe in your chair? I go, well, yeah, but you should also understand what the chair is doing, right? Because if you just take as a leap of faith that your chair is solid and immovable or whatever, and then you do something like, well, I'm going to put my car on it. You go, well, should you have done that? No. Well, why did you do it? Well, because I believed in my chair. I believed in its fundamental soundness and ability to support weight. So I parked my car on it and the whole fucking thing collapsed and I died. That's not great, right? Mm-hmm. So you should understand the constraints and limitations of the chair. And then if you can come back and go, nope, I think the chair is a pretty good deal, then I think you're in a pretty sound place to not only use the chair appropriately, but also understand what it can do, what it's capable of, and why, and what are the conditions that are required to make sure that it is a sustainable chair. That makes sense.
Yeah. Take a look at the chair, walk around it, give it a little sit, give it a little stand, rock back on it, decide that you're going to sit on the chair. I just sit on, and I've done my share of that, even though I continue to, I check on my chair every once in a while, but I keep sitting on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get it. Because there is that, as you're learning about Bitcoin, there's always that element of when people ask questions or market activity occurs, and you have to stop and reconcile, maybe again, like, okay, yeah, I'm still sitting on this chair.
Yeah.
Here's I have it right here. Your book, The
Ooh.
Great Realignment,
Yeah.
reflects upon good stuff there. I have crypto economics as well, and I've started it. I haven't finished it, but
Yeah.
I need to read more of that.
Well, it might put a pit in your stomach if you read it closely enough. You might just start going like,
I'm out.
yeah, I don't like what this guy is saying. And I think that's the big problem with his book is like, A, he's got kind of a personality that is abrasive just naturally. And B, he also points out like flaws in thinking, right? So I think it's from the book, like how to win friends and influence people or whatever, is about all the way back from like 1919, wherever that guy wrote that book. And one of the first things he says is like, if you want to really alienate people, make them feel dumb, right? So if you're like all in on an idea and then this guy comes along and makes you feel dumb for doing it, it's kind of like, it's not a great recipe for a best-selling book.
Have fun staying poor.
Yeah, basically, right? Um, but I think if you can, not you, but anybody that's into Bitcoin that can kind of overcome their egocentrism and overcome their bias and overcome their desire for a belief system, and then just approach this objectively and look at it and go, okay, well, I'm going to give this some thought. I'm going to give it some serious weight, and then still walk away with an idea that goes, you know what? Despite all of these shortcomings and flaws, I think Bitcoin is worth being into. Then I think you're in a sound place to kind of go all in and go for it because you understand the risk of what you're doing and you understand what it means to be doing what you're doing. It's kind of like if you're going to go join a revolution and you just kind of willy-nilly haphazard it and just go, it's going to be fine. We'll be over in 6 months. It's no problem. I go, well, you probably should think about that a little bit longer, right? You should probably understand what you're getting into, how long it could possibly take, and what are the risks and the downsides. And there is a possibility you'll lose if you join this thing. So, and I think that's important for Bitcoiners as well. I think it's the idea that it's just immutable and it'll never change and it's forever and this will be money 500 years from now and all this kind of thing. Those are not necessarily sound ideas to begin with, right? It takes effort, just like the revolution just won't happen magically. Like you have to go pick up a gun and fight. With Bitcoin, you have to pick up a node and run it, and then you have to understand the protocol and you have to understand what it means and you have to understand where it's important and where the vulnerabilities lie and what kind of things can corrupt it. And I just don't think there's enough people that take that seriously right now. So I don't know. You're welcome,
Yeah.
Johnny. I hope I don't spoil you on Bitcoin after reading that book. Read my book right after. It's the answer.
It'll add the silver lining.
Yeah.
Exactly. And having been so the alternative is dark. The CBDC suppository rammed up your bunghole and digital IDs and just all the things. And that's so it's like, okay, let's say Bitcoin has its challenges, concerns, adoption things, time frames. It's a hell of a lot better fixed money than what? Fiat? So your alternative is what? Fiat? Or, hey, Hong Kong just opened a Solana ETF. It should get a pump, right? Okay, well, look at the fundamentals of Solana and all the tokens and all the things and how it works and how it doesn't work and hasn't worked. Yeah, sorry, it's still Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's merit to that idea. I guess the thing I'm getting across or trying to get across is like, just as much as you should look at Solana and recognize that the fundamentals are flawed, there are fundamentals in Bitcoin, or at least fundamentals in the ideas around Bitcoin that are also flawed. And you should be aware of those before you dive in. So the idea of like, well, what else is there? I go, well, true, right? 100%. Like, what are you going to choose in lieu of Bitcoin? Like, there's nothing else out there. There's nothing else that's better. But if you choose Bitcoin based on the idea that it's a sure thing, it's a locked in bet. Like, of course I would choose Bitcoin because it is perfect money. You go, that's a problem, right? Because that means all you have to do is push buy on Coinbase and let it sit in your Coinbase wallet and just go, I fixed it, right? But you haven't done anything yet until we get the node count up, until we get more people participating in the network, until we get more people that have financial exposure to Bitcoin actually participating in the Bitcoin network, then Bitcoin remains vulnerable to things. And so the idea of like, well, there's nothing better, so I'm just going to go with Bitcoin, I think is true with a caveat. Like, if you believe that, then you should also be doing the effort. You should be undertaking the effort to make sure that that thing that you are saying, there is no second alternative to this. So therefore, there should be a corollary to that. There is no second alternative to Bitcoin. There is no second best. Therefore, I should do everything in my power to make sure that the thing survives, right?
Right. The
Not
work hasn't just been done for you. We are
correct.
the proof of work.
Correct. And that's the part that I think is lacking from Bitcoin discourse right now. And that's the thing I'm trying very hard to like change and alter within my limited sphere of influence, is to go, hey man, like there is no second best. And the thing that is the best is vulnerable to all kinds of problems if you don't participate with it, right? So I don't know if that's like landing for anybody listening to this or whatever, but
Don't
I
just buy
hope so.
tickets to the game. Go to the game. Play the
Play the
game.
game. Yeah.
Get on the field. Just you can walk on the field and kick the ball.
Yeah.
I want to give a random shout out to Johnny because I mean it's been a week and a half. He had posted pictures of his office setup,
Oh yeah.
and he had the miners running. He had the Bitcoin posters. He had the books, his workstation, and his MicroSeed kit sitting on the shelf. I saw.
Put them up, man. Put them up.
I don't have a picture of it handy, but maybe I can find it. But I was impressed. He was like, "Hey guys, rate my setup."
Yeah.
He even put the Satoshi white paper up. I said 11 out of 10. And that's where for me too, when it started, and I was all just excited about like, I'm not just off zero. I want to do stuff in Bitcoin. So it was like, I'm off zero. Okay, I'll take self custody. Cool. Oh, I have my words on paper. That's a problem. I realize. I'll run a node. I should be mining. I can get these little miners. I'll participate where I can, how I can. Not that I'm writing a book, but I just started getting organized in my head. And for me, that's writing stuff down. I would just be writing stuff down in my little Bitcoin journal, or collecting my thoughts, or us doing this podcast. It was like skin in the game, doing something. Johnny's totally doing it, running hash, running nodes, stamping his seeds. Picture of our podcast on the screen. It was like amazing. If I can find it, I'll throw it up here because he had a picture.
Yeah. It was a great photo. Yeah.
I was super
Epic
impressed.
setup, dude. Epic. Better than my setup.
And so then, having been a maxi for, I don't know, I don't keep track anymore, but yes, I'm a Bitcoin maxi, unapologetically psychopath about it. Sorry. And even as I stop and look around, I remain all in. And that went from when I was going through all my stages of becoming more and more orange. I wanted to really try to convince everybody. So like friends, family, random people, they'd mention something, and in the back of my head was like, tell them about Bitcoin or tell them about everything fiat. And I would do that, like pushing and trying to convince people. And you run into a whole lot of like, oh, okay, cool story, bro. But, the Mariners, actually, I wasn't thinking about how are the Mariners doing?
They choked.
Did they? Oh, well.
Bunch of bums.
Well, catch the game.
Yeah.
So even as there's room for that in our lives, in my head was this like Bitcoin. I'd want to convince people. My pendulum has swung, and recently again, where I ran into a little FUD by family members earlier this week about like, but what do you do with it? Can you buy stuff with it? What do you just sit on it? You're gonna like not understanding things about it. And very quickly, my patience was thin, and I was basically like,
have fun staying poor.
I'm not going to try to convince you. Sorry.
Right.
And I'm more quickly kind of done now. So when I do run into that, as much as I want people to run nodes and I want people to like, what more could you do for Bitcoin, not what Bitcoin can do for you?
All right.
I've sort of quickly run into just like, hey, if you have questions, I'll answer them. But if you don't get it, I'm not here to convince you.
Right.
Uh, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then like later when they're coming back, like, oh, you still have all that Bitcoin, right? As if I, am rich to them or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just imagining Bitcoin hits 1 million and there's going to be people like orbiting. And I'll just be like, whatever. You're not too late still. Nothing's changed.
Right.
You can get off zero now. But anyway, I've been sort of impatient with fudders lately.
Yeah. I don't blame you, dude. But it's the funny thing. I was just thinking about this morning, like, because you're talking about like, what do you do with Bitcoin, right? And I think that kind of traces to the core of a lot of things, right? Like when people go, well, can I go buy my groceries with it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, you could just fire right back and go, well, can you go buy groceries with gold? Because, people go, well, gold is money, right? But I think treating these things as money is problematic. And that's, the topic of the new book that I'm writing is about talking about money. Like it's specifically about money. Like the last book was power, money, greed, and Bitcoin, right? Like there's these sort of 4 pillars of like historical analysis. This one, I'm just going to focus in solely on money. I just want my own treatise on money and what I think money is about, right? And one of the things that occurred to me is like, well, people go, well, gold has always been money. And, stock flow, whatever nonsense theory they come up with about why gold is money. I say, well, on some fundamental level, if you exchange gold for a thing, if you go, I want, you to dig a ditch for me. And you go, well, okay, I want gold. So you got mutual wants, right? You got a coincidence of wants. You want gold, I want a ditch. So we trade. Go, is that money? Well, if I said I'll give you a pig for the ditch, that's a trade. If I give you gold for the ditch, we used a medium of exchange. I go, that doesn't sound right to me, right? Just fundamentally, because then you start getting into this weird world of like, okay, well, what gives gold its value? Oh, what makes gold a valuable medium of exchange? Is that the state? Well, it could be if you have to pay tax in your gold. So is it a state creation then? Gold is a thing that people want to trade, but it becomes money when the state comes in. I don't like that idea. I think I like the idea of like gold is the best saleable asset, so that's why it's money. But then it doesn't account for all the other stuff, right? Because then it's not really money. You're just trading the most saleable asset for a different asset, right? Labor for gold. And I think the same holds true for Bitcoin. If you treat Bitcoin as money, medium of exchange, quote unquote, as a kind of, I think, a very crappy and incomplete definition of money. If I give you Bitcoin for a coffee, did I use Bitcoin as money or did I trade you some Bitcoin for a coffee? Well, how do you delineate that? How do you break that out? And I would argue that it's more like a trade, right? Bitcoin is a valuable property. It's got valuable properties about it. It's worth X amount in dollars because of reasons. So I've got a thing that's worth X amount in dollars. I'm going to trade this thing that's worth X amount in dollars to you for a thing that's also worth X amount in dollars. And it's going to be roughly equivalent. So I'm trading you an asset for your asset. I'm satisfying my want. I want coffee. You're satisfying your want. I want Bitcoin. Regardless of what your intention to use the Bitcoin for after that, if you go, I now want to trade this asset for this thing that people create out of thin air because that's what I have to pay my taxes in. You go, now you've traded Bitcoin for money, but Bitcoin wasn't money to begin with. Does that kind of make sense? Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's also how I know Fritz tuned me out. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, so like theoretically, money would be like that universal property, if you will, that is highly fungible and transferable that everyone understands, and you can, divide it up, move it around easy and all that. So it'd be like a property, but we call it money because it's that neutral liquid asset. And so people are like referring to Bitcoin as money when in fact, most people treat it like property. And then theoretically, being liquid and quite fungible, quite transferable. It's that property that acts as the best money as well.
Well, can you pay your taxes with it is the fundamental question there. And the answer right now is no. So a fundamental characteristic of money, quote unquote, is can you satisfy your debt to the state? If you can't satisfy your debt to the state with it, it can't technically be money, right? And people would argue that point and go, well, but to your point, you go, well, why would you call it money then? If you have this fungible tradable asset, why would you have to refer to it as money? Why would you not just refer to it as like advanced barter? You go, oh, we got this really neat barter system where I can trade this fungible valuable asset for things that I want and need in the world, and I can trade my things to get this other thing that I want, which is a fungible asset, a fungible tradable asset. So is that money now, or is it just you've got an advanced system of trade based on mutual wants? So I think it starts stripping away this artifice of like, well, but Bitcoin has to be money, because if you ask the commodity theory of money people, they go, money is, stock to flow and the most saleable asset, and that's why it becomes money because it's meaning blah 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 blah. But that's because they come from the starting assumption that money solves the problem of barter, which is not true. That's just a myth. So if that's a myth, then you go, well, then where did commodity money come from? If the starting assumption is that it solved the problem of barter is not true, then what does that leave for the thesis? Well, it kind of pokes a bunch of holes in things. But then if you talk about the credit theory of money people and you go, well, it's a social bond, it's a social credit, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, then how come it became these little pieces of paper instead? Well, that was a natural evolution because that solved the problem of barter, or that solved the problem of like mutual wants, or that solved this problem, that solved that problem. But it's always been based on credit. But it still pokes a bunch of holes in it if you take away the idea that people can just exchange assets, right? So why would you, why would you advance a credit system to a monetary unit system absent the need for collecting taxes? So then you end up in this chartalist worldview, which says, oh, okay, well, money is always a creation of the state, and it's always there to enforce tax receipts, right? So if you take the chartalist view, then the modern people turn that into like the modern view of the credit idea became Maynard Keynes, right? And that whole shitty Keynesian economics idea. But the modern view of chartalism takes it and corrupts it as well and goes, oh, okay, since it's a creation of the state creates demand for the money, therefore we can make as much money as we want. There will always be demand for it. I go, that fundamentally breaks down if the state has also encouraged a market to trade in that unit of account on top of their creation of that money. So the MMT thing can't work, just like the Keynesian thing can't work, and the commodity thing can't work. So you go, well, then what are we left with? Well, now you've got this whole, it suddenly starts looking more and more like geocentrism to me. When you start taking all the dominant theories of money, commodity theory, credit theory, and the chartalist theory, and you put them all together and you go, okay, this is geocentrism. These are people that are effectively peddling geocentrism. And it runs into that problem that you pointed out right up top. You go, well, Bitcoin is this thing that we call money, but you can just trade it at will anywhere in the world. You go, well, that's an asset that you can trade. That doesn't necessarily give it the fundamental characteristics of money, because there's other aspects of money that have to come into play. The primitive one being, can you pay your taxes? And if you can't pay your taxes with it, then it's not a state creation. It can't satisfy state debts. So you can have all the Bitcoin in the world, but if they come and say, well, you haven't paid your taxes for 10 years, we're going to throw you in jail. You go, well, but I'm rich in Bitcoin. They go, we don't care. We don't take Bitcoin. We take dollars. Do you have any dollars? No, then you're off to prison with you. So at some point, you're going to have to trade that valuable asset for something that the state will accept, if that makes sense.
There were states that were maybe whether they were bills or laws passed to.
That's awesome, Jay Marley. Sorry to interrupt, Fritz.
Yeah, Jay Marley's got some based tweets going on here.
I'm digging that.
Yeah, modern Bitcoin Sam Adams. So states, what state was it? There was a bill or maybe a law floating across that you could pay your taxes in Bitcoin. And at one level, I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. At another level, I'm like, oh my gosh, are they going to get people thinking that that's cool? Or the sovereigns collecting their Bitcoin now if they can? I'd rather pay my taxes if I have to pay them in fiat.
Well,
But
the problem with collecting taxes, and to answer your question, is like, will states accept Bitcoin someday? I go, probably, but that means they are continually draining Bitcoin from everybody else, and there's a fixed supply. So, how long can you pay your taxes in Bitcoin before you run out of Bitcoin?
right.
Uh
Yeah.
oh, that's a problem. So, if you see a state that comes along and goes, yeah, sure, pay your taxes in Bitcoin, dum dum, give us all your Bitcoin, and then we'll have all the Bitcoin, and then you can just go right back to having fun staying poor, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
how about we just keep using your little piece of paper or whatever it is? I'll keep paying taxes in that, please, and thank you. I'll keep trying to figure out ways to get, I'll keep figuring out a way to pay my hut tax, whether it's by labor or by sales of things or by resource capture myself or whatever it is. But I certainly don't want to give you the most valuable property ever invented by mankind to satisfy my debt to you, because then ultimately I'm going to end up a debt slave, right? I'm your debt, my debt to you. If I give you all my property to satisfy my debt, sooner or later I end up with no property, and that's not helpful if you have designs on being a self-sovereign individual.
Yeah. Like I own my property. It's paid off. It's mine. I've got the deed. Oh, but if you don't pay your property taxes at some point, whether it's your generation or the next, when do you not get to keep that property?
Right.
Mhm.
Well, that's the Bitcoin tax, right? Like, imagine
Yep.
if the state instead said, "Okay, yeah, you can pay your tax on your land. All you have to do is parcel out your land into 100 square foot lots, and every year you just give us 100 square feet of your land." Oh, okay,
Right.
cool. Right, awesome. How long does your plot of land retain its characteristics as your plot of land? Like, sooner or later, that's going to get carved up until you go, "Oh, I don't have any land left. I don't even have enough room for a shack." Well, okay, I guess you don't have any land anymore because you paid your tax to us. So
That's
that's
my
why,
grandkids' problem. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
No.
there's a lot of people that probably think that way,
Yep.
and there's probably a lot of Bitcoin holders that would think that way. But yeah, don't pay your tax in Bitcoin, even if they accepted it, because that is an attempt to extract resources from you. Yeah, I like that. Shot heard around the world.
We got some bass posts happening here. I love it, Jay Marley.
Yeah.
Um, my now randomly, small story. My son's in college, senior year, doing great. He's smarter than I am, and he'll be an engineer. And he's tight on money, and he's waiting on his next little bit of fiat to come in. And he's like, "Dad, I'm kind of tight." And he'd bit. I've gifted him, and he has bought Bitcoin a little bit over the years. But years ago, he started 4 years ago a little bit. And he's like, "Hey, can I just sell like a little bit of my Bitcoin? I just need like a few $100 to cover the month." And I was like, "Ooh, let's talk about that. How about we never sell our Bitcoin,
Right.
but let's look at what's your fiat need here?" Is basically what I was considering. Is like, let's talk about what we need to do here, because crossing that line for me, I don't think he's thinking about it the same way, obviously. But I said, selling the Bitcoin, even though you've like double or tripled the value you put into it at the time, it's like, well, I'm like, Dad, I'm way ahead, so I can sell a little. And I said, mm, let's figure something else out. I'd rather you hold on to your Bitcoin. It was a little talk we had. I didn't want him to part with it. So anyway, that was fun.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there's a couple things here, like Sarah West. I like it. That's a cool moniker, dude. Um, I I would argue, you say here the government will then give their Bitcoin to the war machine. It is a circle of life. And I would argue the United States does not give up territory to fight wars, right? They don't go, "Hey, we need to sell California so we can go pay for this war." Like, they would never think that way. And I don't think they would treat Bitcoin any differently. I don't think they'd go, "Oh, let's just." I mean, they might right now because they don't understand what Bitcoin is, but assuming that somebody in the government eventually goes, oh, we understand what Bitcoin is now. It's the most valuable property ever created by man. We certainly don't want to parcel that out to people so we can go prosecute a war, especially when we have a printing press. So how about we just print our way through this like we have been for the last 150 years or 100 years or whatever it is. And then we'll just keep the Bitcoin just like they keep California, they keep Texas. They don't sell. I mean, if you want to boil this down and get really based about it, you go, well, actually, they have been selling off entire swaths of California to the Chinese and Chinese investors, and real estate's going to Chinese investors, and all kinds of stuff is going to overseas. Like title to property in the United States is going overseas, but that's a function of short-term thinking, not necessarily long-term strategery. But yeah, so if all I have is Bitcoin, though, then that is all I can pay people or the government with. That's a potential constraint if you think about it then. But I think the likelihood of the state giving up its power over the money printer is effectively zero. Like, why would you if you were the sovereign? You'd go, well, hey, man, like we need to get stuff from our populace. We need to be able to extract resources from this population so we can do things like we can go prosecute our war. We have to make the population pay in something that we can control, which is money, right? So if they go, well, we'll hang on to the property that we get, they might give you the option to do that. I don't think that's a good idea, but I don't think fiat goes away. I don't think money, state issued money, goes away because it constrains the sovereign far too much and they can't do anything. And it leaves the sovereign vulnerable to capture by somebody else because somebody else might have better control over their ability to force their population to trade in a currency or whatnot. So King Massey, come on.
King Massey. I just had to ask the robot what states accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency as payment for taxes and related fees. Colorado, Ohio, Utah, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Began accepting Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Lightning Network for state taxes.
Yeah, don't give your Bitcoin to the state. That's my thesis right now.
Me too.
Like, what I'm trying to share with everybody is do not under any circumstances start paying your taxes in Bitcoin. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. That's a corruption of the idea, but it's easy to make that mistake if you start treating Bitcoin as quote unquote money, because it's not, it's property is my core thesis. I'll die on the hill. If you treat it as money, then it makes sense to give it to the state. But once given to the state, you don't get it back. They're not going to give you services in Bitcoin. They're going to give you, roads and whatnot, but they're going to keep that Bitcoin. So please don't give your Bitcoin away to the state. Make them come and take it from your cold dead hands. Don't let them don't like, oh, here you go. Oh,
yeah.
I'm just going to give you all the guns in my land while I'm at it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have a little bit of my property there. I still have property. Dennis Porter might tweet, hey, breaking news, another state will accept Bitcoin for stuff. And I'm like, it's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Maintain a fiat existence. Sort of like as the Titanic slips, you're going to operate and operate and operate with fiat until maybe at some point you fully hop off when the Titanic sinks. But I have a fiat avatar and my Bitcoin existence. So,
yeah. Well, Mr. West here says Bitcoin is definitely money. I go, okay, define money.
What is money?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is Bitcoin is such a kind of property that property has never had before that we're familiar with, that it very much functions as money. So it's like it's ultimately property.
Define money.
That functions as that highly fungible, transferable, familiar commodity that is neutral so that you can move it quickly. But then you're talking about barter, right?
You're talking about trade. You're not talking about money. I challenge anybody to give me a coherent definition of money, and I've yet to hear one. It's a unit of account, medium of exchange, store value. Okay, well, then let's parse that out a little bit. Like, does it store your value? Is it a medium of exchange? Yes. What's the primary case for the medium of exchange? To satisfy your debt to the sovereign. Yes, you can trade it for, bits of coffees or whatnot, but you have to keep getting more and more of it every year because they keep making more and more of it. So money, I think, is like I said, it's a chartalist view at its core. I call what I'm referring to as like dark chartalism. I go, the creation of money is a state thing. So if you say Bitcoin is money, and I go, well, then you're saying Bitcoin is a state thing. And I don't agree with that thesis at all.
Taxes. Money exists to pay taxes. Was created to extract wealth and taxes. Let me throw up this picture that Johnny had. I don't know if Johnny's still listening or not. So this was his rig at home. He had all this stuff. So zoom in on that there, right in the middle. You can see our podcast rolling. It's his little, it's totally based too. It's got the OSB board and self-built table, and you see that little box in the middle. Anyway.
Oh, hop on, Travis. Let's duke it out, dude.
Travis indicated he was busy, too busy to join, but he could join.
Oh, yeah. Now that you're the suit coiner with the suit and tie. Too busy for us plebs.
Yeah, I like this office. It's like everything you need, which is Spartan. And
it's dope, dude. OSB in the background. Love it. That's kind of what the new MicroSeed office looks like right now. I'll tell you what, Travis, with my next book, I think I'll change your mind on whether or not money is a state creation. How about that? I'll buy you a beer if I don't change your mind.
So it's expanding upon your last book. You're going to get into the what is money?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's tentatively titled Predatory Monetism.
Predatory Monetism.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a groundbreaking, seminal work on the origins of money. That's what I think. I don't know. That sounds ridiculous, but
well, Breed Love will have you on his podcast and he'll be like, that's it. I'm changing the name of my podcast because we figured it out.
Yeah. I know what money is now.
We now know what money is.
Yeah. Oh, you're riding shotgun in a Suburban? Of course you are. Is it black? Is it filled with a bunch of feds with little earpieces?
Antennas like a porcupine on the roof.
It's armored, Yeah. I know how that goes. Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, I don't want to say too much, but yes, congrats, Travis. You're
moving up in the world, moving on up.
You're moving on up,
dude. Loving it. Well, that's pretty good.
What else? Yeah. How concerned are you overall with, like the long game that China's played with refining and the minerals that everyone needs now for chips and batteries and everything else? And it just sort of seems like America is 10 years behind at best. And like
pretty much everything.
If we're going to run this stuff, we're beholden to China. China can say, oh, yeah, no, you have all the stuff, but we actually make it for you.
Right.
How big of a threat do you feel about that?
Zero. I have no worries about that at all. Well, I'll tell you what, right before we dove into World War II, we had nothing. And about a year later, we had everything. Like, it was imperfect at first, and we refined it real fast. I'll tell you what, if that comes home where Joe average citizen who doesn't think about China, international trade, tariffs, any of that stuff, they just go, did you see the game last night? Yeah, Mariners blew it. That's the depth of their thought. When they go, hey, wait, what do you mean I can't buy a new iPhone? But I need a new iPhone. My old iPhone doesn't hold a charge very well. Well, it's because of China, this, that, and the other thing. Oh, why aren't you fixing that? I like my iPhone. When you've got a crush of those people, then all of a sudden the idea, like, especially if it becomes catastrophic, like, oh, you guys just don't get anything anymore because China cut it all off. We need to fix that right now. And people go, yeah, fix it. Remember the Patriot Act? They rolled that out because of a big thing that happened. And then people just like, yeah, just whatever it takes. Just get me back to Xbox and watching the game and not thinking about scary things. Do whatever you need to do. And so they passed all kinds of draconian shit overnight, like within a month, like hardly any discussion, debate, thought about it. There's like Ron Paul and one other chick were up there going, I don't think this is a good idea. And it was like, shut up, Debbie. We got a problem right now. We're going to fix it. Right. So
the Banking Secrecy Act, right?
Oh yeah, the banking. Well, it's the FATF 40 got implemented right there. I mean, it was a Clinton era thing, and they were like, "Hey, we need to get this thing going because we're trying to push it on the world." And then everybody in America said, "What? What do you want? KYC? Go GFY? Get out of here. We're not doing that." And they sent so many letters to Congress. Everyone was like, "We're not doing that. Like, I'm not going to get elected if we try and pass this thing." So they shelved it, right? And then never let a good catastrophe go to waste. They implemented it all in 2001 with the Patriot Act. Half the Patriot Act is devoted to implementing AML laws. What's that got to do with terrorism? Nothing. The 9/11 Commission said, what was money laundering have to do with terrorism? Nothing. This was the easiest thing in the world to pull off. They probably cost $100,000 each. Like they could have easily evaded any of these sanctions that you come up with. So it's a retarded thing to do. But they wanted it. They wanted KYC. They wanted keep you controlled laws put in place. So that's what they used to get them there. But I would argue when it comes to like chips, chip manufacturing, this, that, and the other thing, they'll just somebody somewhere will go, oof, hey, we can't buy computers anymore. That's a problem. Hey, we can't, our AI industry is falling apart because we can't get stuff from China, or we can't get this, we can't get that. Let's just build that up like right now. And then they will. They will do at any means, at any cost. They will just like salvage the ship. So I don't think there's a big risk, and it's not as if we're like mineral poor or something like that. There's just a lot of stuff we can't touch because like some owl hugger is going, nah, I don't. There's a frog that lives under that rock, and we don't want to kill the frog. So I'm willing to sacrifice everybody's access to computers so we can save the frog. I think pretty soon people just go, hey, we've killed a lot of frogs in our time. What's one more? Who cares? Like, but I want my computer back, right? So I think that's where that ends up.
Yeah, America's got its share of regulatory hurdles, if you will, just that have accumulated. For
those are
decades.
pieces of paper that can evaporate in 10 seconds. Like zero problem. They just go, well, all these regulations are gone now. Why is that? Oh, because everyone's pissed off that we can't have a computer. Like, let's fix that problem. Yeah, spotted owl, tough.
Yeah, that's one thing Jay Marley mentions is that in America we have kind of a mindset that like we need to pivot, and as a people, I feel like we can do that. Where like in China, they can steal and borrow and copy and follow directions, but unless Xi Jinping or whoever says so, now to their strength, a guy like that, some random guy can just say, we're going to do this now, and they all kind of just fall in line, I guess. Mm-hmm. But in America, I think we can do what we need to do in a pinch, kind of collectively but freely, I would hope. Culturally, just different cultures there.
Well, it was hardly free during when they were rationing food and gasoline during World War II. You go, was that free? Was that freedom? No. Was that a market solution? No. Did they just massively debase the currency overnight because they just felt like they had to do this now? Nope. I mean, none of that stuff is like freedom. That's not voluntary. That's a very top down. We're just doing this. And on some level, they have emergency powers that they can just enact anytime there's an emergency, right? And they will. Just go look at FEMA's mandate and just tell me how limited the government is, right? And just look what they do when they come in and start wrecking stuff. I mean, the idea that some piece of paper somewhere, because of a regulation some bureaucrat created in the 1970s to protect owls or, ponds or whatever, all that stuff can evaporate in the face of need. And it will, 100%. And in terms of like rare earths and stuff like that, there was a theory floating around about Afghanistan because they're sitting on just a truck ton of this stuff. And it would not surprise me in the least. They go, hey, we actually don't have this rare earth here underneath our feet. But remember that place we were in for like, 20 years, Afghanistan? Yeah, we're going back there. Why? Well, because we need that. So terrorism, bad people, danger, we need to go back to Afghanistan. They will, 100%. They will send the fleet and they'll send Blackwater and they'll send all those guys back down there and just go, hey, you guys just go start stirring up the hornet's nest, kick some ass, do whatever you got to do. Meanwhile, we're going to set up some mining contracts because we need this stuff. And this time we're not leaving. So, either they're going to bend the knee or we're just going to stay there forever. But we need the minerals. But the Congo, there's all kinds of places all around the world that are super vulnerable to capture by the United States. And the United States will go capture those resources as needed, 100%. Teddy Roosevelt back in the day said, hey, I'm prosecuting this war down here so I can protect banana and rubber plantations. Like, what are we doing, right? And there's a reason for that because bananas and rubbers were important. So especially rubbers. But yeah.
Rubbers are important. And how do they do all that? Print money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
So throughout all all the roads, all the solutions there involve money printing. And that's where I also feel like, they have so many fronts that they're pushing right now or needing to fight. All of them require money printing.
Yeah,
So how does the best property in the world not benefit from that?
exactly. Well, I agree with you, Jay Marley. Resources are finite, but ingenuity is not. 100%. The people will find a way to fix problems. Like that's part and parcel with the human condition. That's how we have heavier than air flight and people like escaping the earth and all kinds of stuff. It's because they come up with, they go, that's a problem. Let's figure out a way to work around that, work through it. Just because some people, even if most people can't see that there is a solution available and they just want to chicken little and freak out about things, ultimately unless there's an asteroid that just hit and everything is just wrecked, like, that's a problem. And even that probably has solutions somewhere. If you put any stock in the, those movies from the 90s or whatever about like what is a Big Impact or whatever it was, I don't know. But yeah, we'll fix
Deep
problems.
impact.
Deep
Yeah.
impact. There you go.
Yeah,
They'll simply fill it up there.
I feel at peace in our place with Bitcoin and my mental health. Even as fiat price has been volatile, or it's down 10%. Oh my goodness. I feel at peace about it. I feel very good because I feel like the tide is rising, and my home is tsunami safe. So I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. I guess I'll find out.
Yeah,
We'll
you're gonna find out one way or the other. Like, I mean, you make a choice and you ride it until you the best you can do as a human being is you kind of pick a path and keep going until you discover that it's not a good path, right? And that's all you can do. There is no other option. You don't get to have future sight and plan out and see everything and play chess with the world, because the world isn't a chessboard. It's a fast moving, dynamic, sort of chaotic place. And but human beings have always confronted that, and somehow we're still here. So
the
I think
name
we'll be
of
all
the
right.
game, competitive resource capture.
Yeah, 100%.
And don't panic. If you feel inklings of panic, just evaluate why. Where are you at in your life that would, whether it's your physical security or your mental health or your plans, what alleviates the panic? So I don't know. Yeah, I've been just feeling good and bullish and relaxed lately with the price
Yeah.
lower than high. So
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there, man.
cool.
We're over
Good.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, we're been a good long one. Thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah.
Saturdays, 10
Ronnie, if
a.m.
you're still there, thank you for joining. Jay Marley, thank you for coming on. I appreciate a lot of the sentiments that you're expressing. Is great stuff. And
Yeah.
Mr. West, let's talk about money, dude.
Thanks, man. Thank you, gentlemen. Next time, next week.
Take it easy,
Bye.
everybody.